As expected, the Fed held their target rate steady at 4.25%, 4.5%. This was the fifth consecutive meeting where they made no changes in rates. During his press conference, Fed Chair Powell stated that he felt the policy is only moderately restrictive and in no way is it impacting the economy in a meaningful way. It's not holding anything back at this moment. The topic of tariffs was prevalent. Fed Chair Powell stated that they can see some of the costs coming through in goods, however, they're still in the early innings. He said the net effect is not going to be zero. Either the consumer or the retailers are going to feel the impact. Surveys have shown them that the retailers would like to pass on the effects of tariffs to the consumer, but they're not sure they can be able to without losing market share. Either way, he's still waiting to see if this is going to be a one-time effect. Base case is it could be a reasonable, just a one-time shock, but the Fed stands ready to react if inflation runs away. Now, not everyone agreed with the Fed, with Powell at this meeting. There was actually multiple dissenters for the first time since 1993. But Powell just shrugged that off and said this was good, healthy debate, and it makes the job of the Fed that much more important. What surprised me the most in the meeting was the tone, and Powell leaned a little more hawkish. There was this expectation coming into the meeting that Powell was going to give the signal that he was going to cut rates in September. But he really didn't do that. Inflation's been trending down, labor market's is solid, and of course there's a pressure from the administration. But Powell did not signal that he is in any hurry to cut rates come September. He did give himself some outs. There's 2 full months of inflation data, labor data, and all the various metrics that the Fed can use to make a decision coming. So if he does see some downside risks, he certainly said enough that he could cut rates in September. But he also said that if data remains strong, the market remains robust, and he's still worried about inflation, he didn't signal that he was going to make any sort of cut. And this was a little bit off-putting to the market. The expectations of a cut immediately went from 66% of a cut in September before the meeting to down to 50% right after the meeting, and even 40% here the next day. There's definitely been significant pressure, public pressure, from Trump on Powell to lower rates. He did it immediately again yesterday after the Fed didn't lower rates. He bashed him over X, which is something we've seen in the past. However, I think the market's coming more to grips that Trump isn't going to fire Powell. His term is over in May, so there's time on his side. The Supreme Court recently had a decision that kind of gave the Fed independence and perhaps protected Powell from Trump. So you'd have to get into a lengthy legal battle over the next couple months, which you may as well just let it play out. Trump can continue to bash Powell. Powell seems to take it in stride. He hasn't bowed to any sort of pressure yet. Treasury Secretary Bessent said that they're going to come up with a short list of candidates later in the year. So that just suggests that we have plenty more time of Powell. He's not going to get fired, but Trump will just continue to bash him through the media. We've always held the belief that you should hold a diversified portfolio for long-term investing. And 2025 is really reinforcing that. It was only a few short months ago where domestic equities were deeply negative, and now they're pretty much strongly positive. International, both equities and bonds, have been outpacing their domestic counterparts for the better part of the year, and that's not the norm. Taxable bonds, US bonds, the AG, is up over 4% just after the meeting. So the diversified portfolio helped you offset a lot of that volatility and probably some of the amount you lost in your domestic side of the book. Yesterday, we thought we might get a signal for a cut, and we didn't. And that's only fueling further volatility as we go further in the year. So this really gives financial professionals an opportunity to maybe kick the tires, rethink about a more diversified portfolio, and adjust accordingly.